Hello everybody, it's your boy the Chaotic Weeb, and welcome to episode 2 of the Bleach ReWritten series, where today I will be breaking down the Soul Society arc. And I know last time I said that there would be more changes, but I may or may not have lied. Granted, there are more changes to this arc than there was in the previous one, but the Soul Society arc is near perfect within its placement and, well, as its story within Bleach. Of course, there are going to be some minor changes, so let's just jump right into it. After Ichigo was shown what lightning-fast penetration felt like by Byakuya, he's left lying on the ground in a pool of his own blood as Urahara comes to his rescue. Urahara wasn't mentioned in the last episode, and that is a fucking shame, and I apologize for the sin I have committed. Things only get worse for Ichigo, however, as he regains consciousness in Urahara's workshop, feeling both relieved of the pain he was put through, as well as warm. Turns out he's being cuddled by a big black man. You remember Tessai? The guy who was supposed to be a keto god, even more so than Aizen? Yeah, he's another character that's going to get some love in the future. So with the training section of this arc, I'm going to extend what we see from Ichigo and Urahara's training sessions. However, I'm going to save the new parts for later. You'll see why in a bit. But I also wanted to add training montages for the other 4 members of the main cast, Uryu, Chad, and Orihime. Because I know we, mostly Kubo, tend to forget they exist, but they, for some reason, matter and should get more spotlight. I'd have Tessai be the one who trains Orihime on how to properly use her Soten Keshin. Hell, Hachi was able to fix her broken hairpins, which is the source of her power, and was able to make it stronger in the process. I don't see how Tessai, who was Hachi's captain in the Keto Corps, couldn't do anything similar. Also, this is something I think would be funny, is have Tessai tease Orihime about her relationship with Ichigo while Urahara is beating the fuck out of him in the background, while she acts all flustered and then does something very unpredictable to change the topic quickly. Just thought that would be hilarious, personally. Going on to what Uryu is doing during his training. Now, outside of honing his Quincy skills and reading everything his grandfather Soken had written in hopes to learn new abilities before going to the Soul Society, Ryukin, Uryu's father, actually intervenes temporarily. It's made clear that he knows what Uryu is planning on doing, and essentially tells him what an awful child he is and that he should have kicked his mama harder while he was in the womb. Sorry, that got away from me there. But what I was trying to get at is that Ryukin doesn't condone what Uryu is doing, saving the life of a Soul Reaper, planting the seeds for the 1,000-year Blood War down the road. However, it should also be made clear that Ryukin wants Uryu to go to the Soul Society for some reason, something that seems personal to the two of them. Now with Chad, sadly we don't have anyone who could guide him during his training. However, we could easily just have Chad put himself through some One Punch Man Dragon Ball Z training where he pushes himself so much to the point any other person would have passed out from the strain the training is putting on their body. So far in this script, I wrote 603 words, and this paragraph consisted of 400 of the 603. This is going to be a great fucking video. From here, things are going to be very similar. The Ryoka invasion begins, and the walls from the Soul Palace come crashing down around the Serete. I think I see where Trump got his idea to build the wall from. He's clearly a very cultured Cheeto Puff, after all. Jidambo makes his appearance and does a tussling with Ichigo where he is shown the true definition of...
And here's a fact. By the end of this, you are going to be crying like a little bitch.
As Jidambo is left lying on the ground crying because his axes got broken. However, Gin comes along and doesn't enjoy the main protagonist of this story bullying the weak and needy as he comes to Jidambo's rescue and forces our supposed heroes to retreat. The main cast still run into Ganjo, who just disappeared after this arc. Let's see how fast I forget about him. We also get to meet Kukaku, you know, the girl who made you realize you have a disability kink, you sick son of a bitch. Whilst Ichigo struggles to learn how to properly use his Ryatsu to make sure the spirit bubble they need to penetrate the protective barrier around the Serete, we should add a scene here where Kukaku and Ganju are talking about the similarity Ichigo has with the Kaien and Ishin. Because, you know, Ichigo is related to the Shiba clan, and outside of Ishin being revealed as a Shiba during the Everything But the Rain flashback. But outside of that, we don't hear shit about this relation Ichigo has with these people. And the Shiba clan was one point one of the most important households, one of the most noble households of the Soul Society. so this shit should be important. However, we probably shouldn't have them mention Ishin by name, obviously not to spoil the reveal in the future, though I don't see a problem in mentioning Kaien here, considering Rukia has mentioned him up to this point in the story, and hell, has even made a connection that Ichigo and Kaien look very similar, which is a lot more noticeable in the manga than it is in the anime. Really don't know how to feel about that. Now we continue with similar events to the original story. Ichigo and Ikaku decide to jerk each other off for a few chapters, and don't lie, you enjoyed it, you little perv. Don't worry, I did as well, and I'm not afraid to admit that. And after their manly display of circle jerk, they realize that they are in fact best friends. Fun fact, Ikaku is on my list of try to give more screen time to, don't stress over it though, so we'll see where that takes me in the future. Now for the Yumachika vs. Ganju fight, I spend the better part of like 2 seconds trying to make this fight less of Ganju being scared like a little bitch and more cunning and tricking, and honestly, can't think of anything. The 2 seconds of my life wasted. I'd absolutely give him other abilities outside of his slow, I'm gonna move my hand in a circle on the ground and trap you in some sand, please don't interrupt me, daddy. So let's add on to his soul Reaper ability and say he has the ability to create and duplicate himself. It adds on to the concept of his trickery and, of course, a bit more depth to this battle, if you want to call it that. And we really should not forget about the fact that Uryu just embarrasses this poor Soul Reaper, who was like the 4th seat in his division, pretty much exposing his cowardly acts and trying to take advantage of little old Orihime, as well as pulling an Avatar the Last Airbender and stripping him of all his Soul Reaper powers. I wonder why he or any other Quincy doesn't try that more often. Ichigo then proceeds to continue being a very bad person as he and Ganja decide to kidnap a child. Wait, no, just Hanatoro. That's even worse. Poor Hanatoro. I really do like this character and wish him nothing but the best. Fun fact, Hanatoro's Shikai is so fucking weak that it heals people when it cuts them. However, it then absorbs all of those injuries and then can be shot out of said Shikai. It takes the form of a small-ass scalpel, by the way, and it's also so powerful, Kenpachi wanted to fight him. Great stuff. As if it couldn't get any worse, the trio then finds themselves in a pretty shitty situation as they are stuck hiding within the sewers of the Soul Society. Well, that was the case until Renji appears like a wild monkey snake ready to either bang its chest or strike its venom. Kinda hard to tell sometimes. Either way, the love triangle will finally be settled as Renji and Ichigo battle to see who deserves Rukia's love, and also argue back and forth whose fault it was as to why she is going to be executed. Ichigo wins the fight, cheating in the process because he brought in outside help in the form of a surprisingly strong Hollow Mask. Since he lost, Renji finally admits that he is to blame for Rukia being on death's door, and we get some backstory shit involving the two of them, showing that Renji is a street rat trying to find his Princess Jasmine. Also, the fact that he doesn't really like Byakuya, but I don't blame him, who does? At least this point in the story. The collective gathering of the Gotei 13 is summoned by the Captain Commander Yamamoto, who seems like a very swell fellow who will absolutely listen to reason, and he just orders for every captain to hunt down and violently execute the invaders. At least he's got a nice beard. Among these captains is the 5th Division Captain Sosuke Aizen, a pretty boy with a winning smile. I wonder if he'll be important to the story. And he's dead. Well, there goes that idea. Either way, his lieutenant, who is also very much a simp, who may or may not have slept with him earlier in the arc, because in the manga she wasn't wearing her Soul Reaper uniform to his room. It was, some loose nightwear, pillows all over his room when he leaves her sleeping, just saying, man, they fuck. I'm sure Momo is fine, however, and she's attacking another lieutenant. Also, there's a confrontation between the captains of the 3rd and 10th Division, Gin, who seems like the greatest fellow to have a drink with, and Hitsugaya, who is a literal child. Man, they must have been desperate for captains. Hitsugaya proceeds to threaten Gin because I guess he has feelings for Momo, or at least is very protective over the girl who had sex with the corpse. Granted, it wasn't a corpse yet, but still, do not give him that information. However, despite the threats, Gin doesn't seem to be bothered by it. Maybe he killed Aizen. Nah. We then go on some fun shit as Ichigo and company get the shit scared out of them as the presence of possibly one of the strongest captains stand in front of them very menacingly. Turns out he's a masochist who loves to fight and isn't letting them leave until he has fun, or kills them, or both. Probably both. Kenpachi proceeds to humble Ichigo in many different ways, showing that no matter how strong you think you look bullying people, as Ichigo has done since he got to the Soul Society, there is always a bigger fish to fry. Plus, Kenpachi is upset he wasn't invited to bullying the weak. However, he was nice enough to let Ichigo get the first shot. I mean. To which he wasted it. Tough luck, kid. The rest of the fight plays out per normal, with Old Man Zangetsu coming to save Ichigo and dunk on Kenpachi for not being able to talk to his sword like an insane person. Now it's time for a major change to this arc, and that's actually giving Chad a big moment. So I scoured around the Gotei 13 for a worthy opponent for his Chadness, and I found Kamamura, the 7th Division captain, and this works out extremely well since the 7th Division is typically always portrayed as the division of manliness. Everyone in the division are these big, muscular, manly men. Hell, the lieutenant, Iba, is the head of the men's association in the Soul Society, and I don't know why I find that hilarious. But before I explain the ongoings of that fight, we cut back to Ichigo, who has decided that his injuries doesn't mean anything, and even if he is on the brink of death, he's decided he's going to kick the shit out of Byakuya. Spoiler alert, Byakuya is the one who's doing the shit kicking. So much so, several people have to step in to save Ichigo's hide. Again. Yoruichi drags Ichigo to a secluded location that I may or may not have forgotten the name of, and totally is because I'm too lazy to look it up to explain the tale of Bankai. The Zanpakuto's true form. This is where I'm going to sprinkle in those extended Urahara training scenes I mentioned earlier. Yoruichi asks Ichigo if Urahara had spoken to him about the Bankai before, to which Ichigo says yes, he did. A flashback occurs where Urahara tells Ichigo that it is important for him to gain experience against Bankai, since every captain of the Gotei 13 has a Bankai. Of course, with the exception of Kenpachi. Urahara goes on to say that even though his Bankai is extremely suited to helping Ichigo train, he worries that Ichigo was so weak that the mere presence of his Bankai would negate all the usefulness it would have had. This kind of fills in a plot hole of why Urahara didn't either mention Bankai to Ichigo, or hell, even trained Ichigo with his Bankai. So you're welcome. Also, Renji got jealous and broke into the secret underground training area and decided who he was going to, quote-unquote, master Bankai. Hey look, Monkey Snake. Where have I heard that one before? He then proceeded to get his shit rocked by Byakuya. Now enough of the bullshit, let's get back to the good shit with Chad versus Kamamura. Now I'm basing this fight very closely to a Reddit post I found by The Biggest Wheel, link in the description below, but I am going to change something in this whole thing as Chad is traversing through the barracks of the 7th Division looking for where Rukia is being held at, he is randomly attacked by this big-ass sword. He just narrowly dodges the attack. This is Kamamura's Shikai, Tenkin, something that we really don't see often because he's always in Bankai. It's like the trump card, he really isn't the trump card. The fight goes down, it is a massive brawl. Hands down, Kamamura and Chad getting physical with each other, Chad having to dodge every blow from Kamamura's Tenkin or he would most certainly fucking die. The fight is also a fight of loyalty, Kamamura's loyalty to Old Man Yama and Chad's loyalty to Ichigo, whose loyalty is stronger. Here's something the Reddit post added that the anime didn't, a backstory as to why Kamamura is so fucking loyal to him, why Kamamura is so fucking loyal to Yamamoto. I'm going to quote the Reddit post now, and I quote, Yamamoto saves Kamamura from prosecution caused by the said appearance. This would be a great way to show the debt Kamamura owes, end quote. And I 100% agree. This is some good fucking shit right here, and this may or may not be a one. It's Bankai time, motherfucker! Kakujo Tengen Myoo is activated as Kamamura is at his brink against a human nonetheless. Might be a Chad, but still a human. This is optional. Maybe Kamamura's pride as a Soul Reaper is hurt having to activate his Bankai against a fucking human. Seeing this giant armored titan standing above him and the fact that he is standing on his last legs, Chad begins to give up as Kamamura goes to land his final strike. However, memories of Ichigo being there for him in the past whenever others would bully him gives him enough drive to finish the fight. And the power of friendship grants him a brand new ability. Chad stops the giant blade with his hands. His knees are buckling, but he still stopped the moment of the attack as his body begins to glow a bright red as he screams, Puñetazo de radiación del diablo, which, if Google Translate is to be believed, means devil's radiation punch, as he punches the air and fires off that bright red energy at Kamamura, sending him flying through the wall, his Bankai dismantling as he is forced to power down. Chad has won the fight. As Chad falls unconscious, Kiraku and Nanao find his body, and we have that scene where Nanao asks if he is the one who killed Aizen, and Kiraku responds, maybe, but probably not. I always love that scene. It's great. I love Kiraku. He should get more screen time. We then head on to the Uryu versus Mayuri fight, which all of this stays the same. Mayuri sacrificing his own men, Uryu outsmarting the man who literally outsmarts everyone, then Mayuri telling Uryu that he tortured his grandfather, then proceeding to Mayuri activating his Bankai and saying fuck you to essentially his daughter. Who needs those? And releasing a poison across the Serite. That don't seem like a big deal. That could, more than just a couple fodder, Soul Reaper. Killing them? Nah, could never. And finally, Uryu sacrificing his powers to one-shot Mayuri's Bankai to end the fight. Great stuff. Also, maybe add a rap battle. That's a Bleach Abridged joke. Go check it out. So the Ichigo versus Byakuya fight, I'm leaving it the same as well as everything leading up to it, including Ichigo telling the build-up to Rukia's execution that it doesn't matter and his main character powers are vastly superior to whatever bullshit we've been building up to for almost 30 chapters. But I would like for Hollow Ichigo to beat up Byakuya a lot more than what we actually got. It felt very blink and you miss it, and we don't want that. We want to see the main character go berserk and beat the fuck out of everyone in a 10-mile vicinity. But I would keep Ichigo grabbing his mask and forcing it off his face. That was really cool. Also, oh no, Aizen was evil the whole time, and holy shit, he cut off Ichigo's main character music! Thank you guys so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Chaotic Weeb saying, peace.